Okay.
Look at
we
this.
are live.
We're live.
We're live, everybody.
We're live. Hi, everybody.
Happy Tuesday.
Yeah.
It's
Did
been
you
a
miss me
while.
last week? I don't think we did last week because I was gone. Right?
You've been gone.
Yep.
You've been gone for a little bit, I
2
feel
weeks.
like.
Yep.
Yeah,
2
so
weeks.
we missed you guys.
And we had the Wonder Woman conference.
Yeah, we did.
That was cool. I think I did something last week with somebody because I was home for a little bit.
No. You know what? You went live with Ryan Collins.
Ryan Collins.
About his new book.
We did. That was great.
You should go watch that.
Yeah.
It's still on his
It was
feed.
good.
It's good.
Yes.
Amazing. Well, we're going to answer
go.
some questions again today.
Yes, we are.
And if you guys have questions while we're live, you can type them in the comment section.
And we will ignore them. Oh, no, we will try to answer them.
We're going to answer them.
Yes, we are doing good.
Alrighty, let's just jump in, shall
Okay.
we? Shall we? Okay. First question. Oh, someone's tuning in from Japan.
Wow, that's so cool.
That's awesome.
You ever been to Japan?
No.
Me
I
neither.
had a roommate in college who was from Japan.
Wow.
Yeah, he was an international student. Okay. First question.
Oh, gosh.
I think you said in More Revolution, if you don't respect yourself, others might not either. Can you elaborate on this a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, we teach other people how to treat us by the way we treat ourselves. And the deal is that, I always say, like, if I go over your house and your house is a mess and you got beer cans everywhere, house is filthy, I might put my feet up on your table, on your coffee table. But on the other hand, if you come to my house and you live in a pigsty, you come to my house and my house is clean and nice and, it doesn't have to be a mansion, but it's nice and clean and stuff, you're likely not put your feet up on my couch, on my table. And the difference is that the way I treat myself tells you how to treat me.
Yep.
So I think if you don't have any self-respect, no one else will respect you.
That's good. That's really good.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's a good short answer, but it's true. You have something you want to say about that?
No, I think that it feels exactly right.
Yeah.
I would say, and people can see that. I think something that came to mind when you're talking about, if I come to your house and it looks like this, I can just see what you value, right?
Yeah.
You spend your time on what you value, and so you make time for the things you value.
And if you don't value yourself, well, then you teach other people to not value you.
Right.
So,
It's important too because it's actually attractive. Somebody that values themselves. When you're around somebody that's like
you're
kind of a
exactly
pity
right.
party, it's not very fun. You're constantly like, "Oh no, we love you." It's like, "Oh Lord, just believe it for yourself."
Yeah, I mean, it's okay to do that for a while, but pretty soon they wear you out.
Yes, exactly.
And there are people that they can't be encouraged. Like if you don't love yourself, you won't actually accept the encouragement.
Yeah.
It just runs out like there's a hole in the bottom of your foot.
Yep.
And that everyone will kind of do that for a while. Oh, Johnny, you okay? Oh.
Yeah.
But after a while, people go, oh, that's Johnny. You can't encourage him. He refuses to be filled up.
Yep.
So it's sad, but it's
hard.
true. Needs to actually go get help.
Yeah.
Needs Jesus to transform him from the inside out.
That's really good.
You should read you should read the Royal Supernatural Ways of Royalty if you have that struggle, because that was my struggle. That's how I know it so well.
Yep.
And that book is, I think that book is really, well, if I didn't think that book was good, I wouldn't have written it. So, but I just get so much feedback about that exact subject right there.
Yep. Yeah.
So read that book, no, I keep seeing that.
No, because they read More
It's
Revolution.
not More Revolution,
It's
it's
the
Supernatural Ways of Royalty.
Yep, very good. That's awesome. Okay. This person's asked, I've never dealt with grief as I have with losing my mom.
Oof.
How do you overcome grief?
Well, Jesus said, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted.
Yep.
And so, there is a natural season of mourning. And we live in a culture, America, that doesn't do mourning. Like we feel like it's our job even to cheer people up. Like someone's mourning, we're like, cheer up, it's going to be okay. Your mom's in heaven. What are you worried about,
Right.
So, but grieving is a natural process to come to wholeness. Blessed are those who mourn. And then, Jesus goes on to say, when you mourn with those who mourn, then you can rejoice with those who rejoice.
Yeah.
So I think that sometimes us cheer-uppers, us encouragers, sometimes we're like, we should just mourn with people instead of trying to cheer them up.
Right. Well, we don't see the value in it,
Exactly.
We're just always trying to, okay, well, that's not happening. We're trying to ignore the fact that...
Put the happy face on and go forward.
Yeah.
Now, let's be clear. There are people who get stuck in grief.
Mm-hmm.
And, I see that. Look.
Got a little bit of a low battery message. There we go.
Yeah, and there are people who get stuck in grief, and, instead of the cycle that blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted, they like 2 years later, they're still in the same grief position.
Right.
I see we're trying to fix something.
We're trying to fix it.
That's Ellie. Ellie's really close right there because she is trying to make sure that
there we go. Okay, we're powered up.
Devices don't go dead. There we go.
Here we are. Okay, this is live. That's how you know it's real.
That's right.
Yes.
So there are people that get stuck in a grief cycle, and maybe the gal who's talking to us is actually in one of those downward cycles where she can't get out of it. Then I would really encourage you to find get a good counselor, and maybe there's something in there that broke when your mom died that needs to be fixed.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah,
that's really good. I love what you said about not running away from it necessarily, but actually allowing yourself to feel that pain, because on the other side of that pain is actually healing and wholeness.
Yeah.
And sometimes we think if we go to the depth of that pain, we're never going to come out the other side. At least that's how I have feared pain before.
That's true, yeah.
Because I just didn't want to feel it, because I just thought if I feel it, then I'm not going to...
Yeah, you won't
I won't be able to
recover.
escape. Yeah, and so I'm just going to live there. And it felt like the biggest, scariest thing,
Bethel Transformation Center has a grief counselor. I just remember that. Jay was telling me the other day. So Bethel Transformation Center, you should check it out. Mm-hmm. They have a grief counselor. So if you really want to get help and you really are stuck in a cycle, and it's your mom died 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and you're still there, it's like, oh yeah, you got stuck. You need to get out of that stuck spot.
Yeah, that's really good. It's really good. Okay, somebody's asked, will God's promise happen regardless, or does our ability to partner affect the outcome?
Well, that depends on the promise, right? There are conditional promises, and there are non-conditional promises. Sometimes the promises God gives us are conditional, like if you do this, I'll do that. Like, give, and it shall be given to you, pressed down, shaken together, running out all over. What's the promise? If you give, then I will give, pressed down, shaken together, running out all over. So in that case, it's a conditional promise. Like, you have to first give, and then it will happen. And other times, God's like, I'm going to do this sovereignly, no matter what you do.
Yeah.
So I think it depends on the promise. Often there's conditional promises, I will say.
Right.
Often, what do you think about that?
I think similarly. I mean, I think about even just receiving prophetic words, right, that are obviously from the Lord, yet so often they require that we put in the work, that we prepare to step into that promise from God. I mean, and that's biblical. We see that throughout all of Scripture. I'm even thinking of just God speaking to Moses and him having to believe and choose to believe and actually put his foot forward and lead people into freedom. Just key moments where it wasn't just going to happen. It took people of faith to move forward and make those things happen.
Yeah, we've been teaching this recently too, right? Like, faith is catalyzed through action. James says, like, no action, no real faith.
Right.
So, yeah, oftentimes, very often, there is something that we have to do to catalyze the faith that it takes to move forward.
Yep.
And I think they're conditional promises. Sometimes in the word that we get, or in the scriptures, it doesn't look conditional. But when you engage the Lord on that thing, He's like, I'm waiting for you to do this, or I'm waiting for you to move forward on this. Whereas you pointed out, like, I'm waiting for you to have faith for this.
Yep.
And even that's conditional. Like, I'm waiting for you to believe me. And Jesus said to the blind man who wanted to be healed, will be according to your faith. and his faith created an alternative reality, which in his case, the blind man saw.
Yep.
So sometimes we, the actual word doesn't say, if you do this, I'll do that, but the word requires faith, and even faith is like the catalytic.
Wow. Yeah.
The catalyst, it's the actionable point of the word. Yes, very good.
That's really good.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, I'm seeing lots of.
I know we got lots of questions today.
Questions coming in.
It's
from
so cool when we engage
watching.
people. Yep.
Okay, so somebody's asked, when navigating through seasonal transition, what are some practical things you do before making a decision? Currently praying about accepting a new pastoral position. Some practical things you do about.
Well, I mean, the first thing in a big decision like that, personally, I like to consult with some people that know me really well, and somebody that's and a wise or two wise people that are outside of the emotion of it.
Yep. Yeah.
Super wise. Because I can get caught up in that it's going to be amazing, and then and someone else points out like, oh, do you know this? Do you know that? Do you know? Like I was doing just a little consulting with a friend of mine. It wasn't too long ago. He's telling about this opportunity he has. He's going to pay this much more money. Da da da. And I'm like, oh, how far is it from your house? He's like, yeah, it's an hour drive each way. I'm like, that sounds easy until you go from. I live 5 minutes from my work to I live an hour from my work, and that's in 2 hours every day.
Lifetime. Yeah,
what is not only how much more money do you have to make just to cover the cost, but more importantly, what is your life worth? Like your 8-hour day is now a 10-hour day.
Yep.
And is that really have you thought through that? Because that's going to get old really quickly, especially if you're used to having a 10-minute drive.
Right. Right.
So there are a lot of things that other people could point out that you're like in your zeal and your love for, or your angst for the place you're at. You can get pretty excited about. I don't know. There's something about new love. There's something about new things.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's the what else is out there, and yeah.
Yeah, what is that saying? Love is blind.
Yep. And the grass is green on the other side.
Always, yeah.
It is always the over there, the other thing looks far shinier and better than what I'm sitting in. And
I'd point out the grass isn't greener on the other side. The grass is greener on the side you cultivate and water, right? So, it might be grass. If the grass is greener over there, it might not be as green when you get there because maybe you don't cultivate it like you should,
Yeah.
That's by the way, I'm not saying don't go.
No.
And I don't
These
think
are
you're
like
saying.
the practical things you would do, or it sounds like what you're saying is, one, bring in wise counsel from people that are not involved in this decision by any means, but are wise.
Yes.
And then second would be to really ask yourself, where is this decision coming from? Like, what is my core need or belief or drive is what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
To make this decision. Is it coming from a good place? Is it coming from pain? Is it all the things?
Yeah. Am I reacting to my current condition? And am I going to just take me with me?
Yep. Yeah.
There is don't you think all of us kind of have this, like, there's like a mountain I'm going to climb and I'm going to reach the stars and like you get there and it's like, wow, that mountain's really high. It's, and there's, I think that wise counsel, thinking through everything, trying to remove yourself from the emotion of it. Sometimes it's, what would you tell somebody else? What would you tell another person in your same situation?
Yeah.
All those things help to make good decisions.
Yeah. That's really good.
Okay.
Really, really good. Okay, next question. How do you create a prophetic culture in an environment where there is little prophetic culture?
Well, I think that what Ben's doing here and what we've done for years with our prophetic manual, basic training for the prophetic ministry, if you got in there and real simply, we've actually talked about this so many times, but so the overview is, I'd get the prophetic manual. It's really inexpensive. I'd have everybody get a copy of it, and I'd get 10 to 30 people together every week in, when you can have like 2 hours. And I would go through each page of the manual. There's also curriculum if you want it. You know, I mean, honestly, I don't know what the curriculum costs. Maybe it's $125 or something. But you know, if you got 10 people, everybody pays $10. You pretty much got it. You know.
Yeah.
And you just go through. This is what we did. Like we did Larry Randolph's book.
Yeah.
We just took a chapter every week. We met on Friday nights. We met from 7 to, supposed to be till 9. Sometimes it'd be till 10. We read a chapter together. We usually would read it before we get there. We'd sit down like, what did you learn? Because we didn't know anything.
Yeah.
And then we would put someone in the middle and we would practice on them. You know, just like it was just us people.
Just as people.
And, you know, we did that for a year, and then we started bringing some victims in so we could practice on them. And, you know, and that's literally how we started.
That's so good.
Yeah, and it was super simple. And now, you know, we developed a manual. We use it in every school. The basic training for prophetic ministry is very basic training. It's not high level, but it's a whole bunch of stuff that most people don't know.
Yeah.
And it takes you right through, like all the way into last chapter's on how do I make sure I don't become a false prophet. So the whole gamut from the simple to the, hey, here's some boundaries, be careful.
That's really good.
So yeah, that's what I would do.
Yeah, it's really good. I love how sometimes I think we can get really intense about changing the culture of a space, and I'm all alone and there's nobody with me.
Yeah. And
to just be like, oh, it's not that, maybe we just do something a little more simple. It's not that complicated.
Yeah.
Like, gather your few friends that you might be interested and meet up with them and go through this workbook.
Totally.
It's super simple.
Do it in your house. You know, it doesn't have to be intense. Laugh, evaluate each other.
Yeah.
You know, give great feedback. It's really that.
Really good. Okay, somebody's asked, what is one of the most important lessons you've learned in relationship to people? That is a good.
Why don't you start?
Oh gosh, I knew you were.
You're like
that.
the relational guru lady.
No, they want to know from you.
Okay.
What is one of your?
Oh man, I've learned so many lessons. I have become a very different person, connection-wise, relationally, since I've come to Bethel. I've learned that connection's most important. Staying connected's most important. It's more important than confronting people. It's more important than, you know, most things. It's great to tell the truth, providing that there's love in it. When people are in pain, no one should ever suffer alone, and you bond or break in pain. And I found the easiest thing. This is a lesson I learned when I was on the couch 15 years ago. I had a friend of mine who's a doctor, and she called me every day. Talking to a depressed person is not easy. She called me every day for 6 months. And I was like, oh, I got so bonded to her, not in an unhealthy way, but like, wow, you actually cared. Yeah. And I realized that when someone's in pain, I don't have to have the answer. I just need them to know I'm with them. Yeah. And so if I hear any of my staff that are in pain, and you know, we have a lot of staff, so that's usually, you know, 5 or 6, 7 people a day that I'm checking on. You know, I checked on several this morning, several before I went to bed last night, just like, hey, how you doing? What's going on? What was the doctor's report? And you know, and I feel like there is a bonding that happens when we have an opportunity to bond with people in a way that we never had before when they're in pain, if we will run to it. It's
so true. It's when you're in a crisis or in pain, you realize who your real friends are in that moment, right? Who is it that shows up when you have an emergency? Who is it that's willing to bring you a meal and sit with you and not say anything? Those are the people you feel loyal to.
Yeah, and like the Good Samaritan who didn't have a lot of time, but he had some money, right? So he did what he could for the guy in the immediate, bandaged him up a little bit. Then he takes him to the inn, which would be equal to our hospital, and said, hey, take care of this guy. I'll be back in a month. I'm on a business trip. I'll pay the bill. It's like, okay, he had money, but he didn't really have a bunch of time. Yeah. So he did what he could, and then he paid someone to do the rest. So, you know, but the point is that he cared. Yeah. And Jesus said, that guy is his neighbor. Now, some of us don't have any money, but we have time. Yeah. Or we have a skill. I think those things matter a lot, and I have proactively really, really worked hard to do that. And in COVID, it was pretty hard because there were so many people hurting.
Yeah.
So, my text, I was spending, an hour a day texting people, like, how are you doing? And then, sometimes if it's a reoccurring, like it's long, I just pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm going to call you. I want to pray for you. Mm-hmm. And I say, like in the text, hey, I'm going to talk to you for 1 minute or two, but I want you to hear my voice. I want you to hear my prayer. So, it doesn't have to be a 20-minute conversation. It can be a 2-minute conversation.
Yeah, that's really
But
good.
just staying connected matters a lot with people.
Connection does really matter. It's really good.
Cassie's got Parkinson's. She's doing really good. I'd say part of her doing good is that when she's having a down day, I'm like, the Lord says to me, no one should ever suffer alone. This is what I learned from Kathy's suffering. I'm like, okay, so I'm there. If I can stay home, I stay home. If there's any way I can stay home, I stay home. And it's like, it's just her taking a nap, making sure she's strong, making sure she knows that she is covered. And it's really, these are our best years of our marriage. And it's, we both know that she's going to be healed at some point. But in the meantime, we have this great opportunity to do what we couldn't do if she was perfectly well.
That's really good.
We take advantage of it.
Yeah, that's really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Well, we are at time.
Oh, gosh.
Quick as could
I
be
never
today.
realized how fast this goes.
I know. It's quick.
Yeah. Hey, we just want to say thank you so much for, following us and caring enough about, our opinions to, some of you zoom in with us every week.
Yeah.
And we thank you so much for your contribution, for you just, showing value for what we're doing. And, please make comments, how we can improve, even questions that you have, maybe ideas you have for us to do something different or on a different subject. Because we read every comment and we do our best to try to, like, this is your time. We're not doing what we want to do. We actually developed this whole Q&A from hundreds of questions we get every week. And we're like, okay, we got to figure out some way to create a venue. Yeah, to help people. So we pray that God would bless this week, that everything that you care about, God would care about. And this would be an extraordinary week of the presence of God and the fulfillment of your dreams.
Yes.
Have a great week. God bless.